Hey, good afternoon, morning, or evening, or midnight. My name is Skeptical Spectrum, and here I am. This is like maybe my seventh video in 7 straight days out of an apparent attempt to make 30 videos in 30 days. We'll see what happens. This one's going to be on religion and politics, basically. I am an agnostic, I think. In a way, I'm an atheist because I'm concluding temporarily that there is no God. And that seems to work out. But I don't know if there's a God or not. And there are so many gods and spirits actually out there in terms of culture to decide which one to believe in or worship. Or you might be like a Unitarian and believe that there's an all God. I'm not sure how they believe it. There are people who are basically multicultural believers in the spiritual world, and they might honor all the beliefs of all people around, which is something that I think I like to do. However, not when those beliefs are thought to, not when those God or gods are cast in the role of being in charge of morality, laws, rules, government policies, uh, because I haven't seen enough evidence that there's one out there. And as I read about different gods, it seems to me that they're human made, and you can see like little flaws in them. And some people disagree with this. Um, but think so, but we're talking about what I think right now. What I think right now is that they are developed in our own image, such that they represent what we think has created everything and why we think certain things are just terribly wrong and terribly right. That we feel they're absolute. So we make this assumption that some absolute thing created them. Now, not all religions believe that, but monotheistic religions, I think, tend to believe that. Um, I think in the past I think monotheism probably exists in places where people might think that their particular god or goddess or non, non-sexed entity probably, could be wrong or learns or evolves. I don't know if I've ever really heard of that, in terms of nowadays. But and then there's also this concept of this sort of non anthropic, non human like, no way to say he, him, or think of it in any visual terms, really. That there's this what is, and all that is the deity and all that stuff, right? I don't necessarily think I believe that either. Because all that is could also just be non-thinking, and that we develop the ability to think over, thousands and thousands and thousands and millions and billions, I think, of years, on this planet. When a brain developed that could generate thought and generate the concept of generate consciousness and process data from outside and paint a picture in our minds, and smells and tastes and touch sensations, and I don't know what else I left out but so we tend to, except for some groups of spirituality or religion, we tend to think of there being some way that a deity looks, an image pops in our heads. But for like people who believe that the universe is one thing and we developed out of it because the universe yearns to play a game of I'm a little human being and I'm around here for a while and eventually I'm going to realize that I don't exist as a human being, and there's some Buddhism that's like that. There are all kinds of Buddhism and Hinduism. A lot of them have been westernized or just changed over time. So I don't think that it's okay for any religious group, text, or belief system to have the people who adhere to that. I don't think they have, I think it's dangerous. I think it is not safe if they say this particular religion should guide our policy, our laws, our morality, or what's good and bad, and I'm trying to think like ethical practices, because since I don't think, and I can't find any reasons anymore to believe that there's some all-knowing, perfectly moral thing out there. uh, we made up morals as we went along for 200,000 years. And maybe our ancestors, our non Homo sapiens ancestors, um, were doing the same thing to some degree. At some point, we came to be able to document them. And then they seemed sort of written in stone, and we know that one group that actually believes that those laws were written in stone. Um, and the thing is that either if they believe that their God or spirit learns over time, that's cool. That's cool, because that's what we do. We learn over time. And laws and rules and morals, even the most sacrosanct belief about how to treat yourself and other people, can be found out later to not be exactly right, not be exactly functional, not exactly make things work the way we want things to work on this planet. And you can create systems of reasoning so that we can better talk about how to write our laws and teach each other what the rules of right and wrong are. But we haven't come to a final one, and the world hasn't agreed on a set of rules and principles that um, are good enough for everyone to follow without questioning them. And no rule, even thou shalt not kill or thou shalt not murder, because everybody thinks that suddenly makes it, work in all situations. But we have to define what murder is, and we keep redefining it. And that's different in every culture, too. And it's different for every person, and it's different in every state, right? So when some culture, and I'm going to say Christianity because that's what happens in the United States, says we need to make our government run by God, right? That our government needs to be a godly government, and it has to be guided by the Lord God, which is like Yahweh, um, and or the God of the Bible, right? The God of Christianity, which may be different than the God of Judaism to some people. They pick that God because that's what they're comfortable with. They actually believe that God is a good guide for the country. But what I believe is really happening is they like certain laws and rules and principles that they really believe in. And some of them probably were sourced by Christianity, but there are so many different Christianities that believe different things. And if you read the Bible and all the places where the law is, Ten Commandments and the rest, you realize that some of them are contradictory. They're just not satisfactory. They're not like, we're not done yet. You look at them and you realize after a while, like, no, we're not done yet. Like, we don't believe that rule, and we don't believe that rule, and we don't believe that rule. So 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 it's dangerous to have uh, people create laws out of their religious beliefs, out of the belief that their deity passed them down and that it's just going to be perfect and they're all that the law that those laws are perfectly correct. That's how really bad stuff starts happening. Because what I am asserting here is that since there's really no evidence of a God, the best conclusion to come to is that we make the laws and we put those words into the mouth of our imagined deity or deities. So it is really a certain group of people fighting to rule the country and guide the country, as opposed to really their deity. They don't, I don't think most of them are lying and doing that just to get power. But that is the underlying motivation for all of us. Everybody has like a desire to have enough power to make the world be what they think it should be. But of course, in many countries, we have like separate branches of government because the wisdom there is we're all capable of being wrong about what the absolute truth and absolute morality is, right? So you just don't use you can make legislation where you feel um, from your morality, you know, but just realize there are as many moralities as there are human beings on the planet. And so that's why we have these checks and balances, right? And that's why we should have these checks and balances. We even have involuntary checks and balances. We have people across the world getting pissed at us for things we do and us getting pissed at them and, sanctioning in ways that we can do that. So it's a real push pull. It's an ongoing argument. Maybe someday we'll all come to some kind of agreement on the details, which is just hard to believe, of what is moral and how to treat people. But it has to be continued. If you admit, that I might be right, that you're making up your own religion, that you're even reading into your own religion some things that you learned in other ways, that those religions started that way, and the texts that represent those religions started that way, I think you're being more honest. And if you are a person who believes in an absolute God, then go like this: wait a minute, could those prophets have all actually heard God accurately and written it all down accurately? Or did they, being human, sort of interpret it in their own way? And shouldn't we be skeptical even of divinely inspired morality? Because there's always a little fudging in human beings. We're always trying to make it a little bit in our own image, you know. Um, and so it is dangerous to have a religion, even the most peace-minded religions, the ones that say, "Do no harm, do unto others as you would have others do to you." You can see where that can be flawed sometimes because you're human and I'm human. Since you don't like me, you could imagine that I could do unto others as I would like them to do unto me. And really, really, I'm doing unto others what I want to do unto others. You can also see the flaw in that too, because you may not want to be treated the way someone else wants to be treated. So another better probably guidepost is do unto others as they would have you do unto them, as long as you're not becoming a doormat. We make the laws, we pretend that the deity gave them to us, and we pretend there's no interpretation, it's all clear. That's dangerous. That creates despotism, that creates totalitarianism, that creates all the isms like oppression. That oppressionism, you get what I'm saying. If somebody's claiming that their God needs to rule your country, really what that means is they want to rule your country and they don't even know it.